Good evening and thank you for joining us. Carly, pretty big local football story we've been covering there all week. Essentially, this is the second half.
Yeah, and you know what? The season hasn't even started yet, and already we're talking about it, which really only makes that border city battle between the two schools get even more exciting. But yeah, we do get to hear from the quarterback himself and his new school and the team. So
fantastic. We will look forward to that. And Peter, I guess, what are we looking forward to in the weather?
Well, it's a pretty cool day today. It might have felt like fall if you were out there. And we will warm up for the weekend, though. We'll talk about that in just a second. Right now in the border city, we're currently sitting at 14 degrees with mostly cloudy skies. There's a northwest wind that's cooling us off. In the Lakeland, there's mostly cloudy skies as well at 15 degrees. And the Battlefords do have some sunshine. They are also at 15 degrees. We'll have all your weather details in just a few minutes.
Starting tomorrow, you'll no longer be able to talk on your phone and drive in Lloydminster. The distracted drivers legislation is now in effect all across Alberta. Jack Haskins gets local reaction to the new law and tells us what you can and can't do while behind the wheel.
For quite some time, the Alberta side of the border city has been a safe haven for drivers to talk and text on their cell phones without consequence. But those days are now over.
It's already been known that you can't be talking on a cell phone while on the Saskatchewan side. It should just be an easy transition for the residents of Lloydminster to follow that law being on Alberta side as well.
People talking on cell phones isn't the only thing the RCMP will be looking out for.
Inputting data into a GPS unit while driving, texting and driving. They've talked about people putting on their makeup and driving.
Now, as far as the food situation goes, there's a little bit of a gray area. You can be chowing down on one of these or even as much as a 12-inch sub, as long as police determine that you are not being distracted from your driving. However, when it comes to talking on your phone, that ship has sailed.
I think it's good. I think it's needed. Everything that we can do to be more proactive for safety is what we should be doing, and people should be happy about it.
You don't want to run into somebody, you have somebody run into you.
Yeah, it is a good thing because my mom was texting and she rolled her van before, so yeah.
I totally agree 100%. But that goes right down to eating and putting mascara on and, doing your hair while driving. No, I totally agree.
Those who are still planning to use their phone while driving should be aware. The RCMP will be enforcing this new law very strictly.
Yeah, it's going to make things a lot easier. We've had our hands tied stopping at 50th Avenue in the past. We've seen a lot of infractions on the Alberta side, and it's pretty much a guarantee these laws will be enforced a lot more firmly now that it's enforced on both sides of the border.
Drivers can still use their phone while operating a motor vehicle if using a hands-free device or if you're calling 911. Jack Haskins, Newcap News.
Cold Lake is still waiting for a decision from the province about rezoning Four Wings Air Weapons Range, which would provide the city with additional tax revenue. And that revenue is needed to help Cold Lake climb out of a deep deficit. But it appears things could be getting worse before they get better. As Clayton Brown explains, a recent upgrade to a major city system could push that deficit to $200 million.
The City of Cold Lake's infrastructure deficit is a big concern for council, and that concern looks to be only growing after Alberta Environment told the city its current sewage treatment system is no longer meeting standards.
We're going to have to be moving from our lagoon treatment process to more of a mechanical treatment process that's out there. And that's to remove elements such as phosphorus, ammonia, and nitrates from our effluent. So
the price tag? Anywhere from $35 to $50 million, which means the city's debt will rocket to nearly $200 million.
The mechanical system takes us into a whole other sort of emerging field of engineering in terms of the wastewater and looking at really being able to do more with the pH levels, ammonia levels, and nitrogen levels.
The project is still in its early stages of planning, and it's not known exactly how the costs will be covered, but council will be looking for help.
As far as taxes and utility fees and things like that, that certainly hasn't been modeled out yet because we're still looking at grants that the city could receive for that.
Nagoya says the province is aware of the problems with the sewage treatment system and the costs associated. That will be taken into consideration when the province makes its final decision on the rezoning of the weapons range.
It's been on the radar, and we'll continue, and we'll be looking at extensions to our existing licenses until we can resolve how we're going to actually finance this and how it's going to get done.
Council says the project should be complete in 3 to 5 years. In Cold Lake, Clayton Brown, Newcap News.
Well, time's up. Many local Canadian television stations broadcasting over the air have already switched from an analog to a digital signal. And that means people who are still getting their signal via antenna may not be able to tune in. For Border City residents, the switch happens tomorrow. Kathy Lee explains how you can avoid missing out on your favorite shows.
The computer screen is what Carol Stevenson looks at most of her day at work. At home, it's the TV.
Newcap News is about all I watch.
But Stevenson says the set she watches her favorite show on isn't quite up to date.
We've had our TV for probably over 10 years, and we get an analog signal from a tower.
Stevenson makes up a small percentage of Canadians who still view in analog and may have already or will lose a signal on their TV soon.
The CRTC, the governing body of for the broadcasters in many different telecommunication areas, came up with a August 31st deadline for the switchover from analog to digital.
But Hooper says not everyone will be affected with the change.
The Shaws and the Express Views and the Star Choices, any of the BDUs who offer that, those people will not be affected, absolutely not.
Now, if you have a TV that gets a signal through an antenna, you may not need to rush out and buy a brand new TV set just yet. Hooking this converter box up may be all that's required for you to still get a signal once the switchover happens.
Basically, it allows you to take your old TV and convert it to having a digital tuner. Hook your input from your rabbit ears or your antenna into here.
Although a converter box may be an easy solution for TVs using rabbit ears, Aston says the device may not work on all antennas.
Some of the older rabbit ears, you might have to upgrade your rabbit ears. You know, you won't have to replace the TV, but you might have to upgrade your antenna or your rabbit ears. It's possible if they're really old.
For those not completely sure if a converter box is needed, here is a guideline. Because most TVs older than 6 to 7 years have an analog tuner built in, a converter box may be required. But TVs made in the last 7 years should have a digital tuner built in, so those won't be affected. While it may seem like a hassle, Hooper says it's worth it.
With analog, you get the snow, you get the fuzzy picture. With digital, it is all or none. But when it's in, I mean, it'll stay in. And it is very, very clear.
For Stevenson, if switching means a clearer picture for her favorite show, she says she doesn't mind.
Yes, that's what I've heard, so we're looking forward to that.
Kathy Lee, Newcap News.